you're there, I hope you're paying attention to me because I just want to thank you for sending me a message that my original Facebook Live video that I was totally doing a minute ago was completely pixelated and you couldn't see anything, and I guess it was really awful. And I'm just hoping that somebody out there in the Twitter sphere and the Facebook sphere and all the spheres can hear me now and that I sound awesome. Because this is what it's like to live in Oregon where it rains. Because the rain makes it so the interwebs don't work so well. So I'm just really super duper hopeful that y'all can hear me because I have now moved a couple times. So I hope you can hear me. And if you can't hear me, you can write a little comment. There's Jeff. I see you, Jeff. Okay. It's working. It's working because I see Jeff. Hi. So welcome to my Facebook Live. This is the third time I've started my Facebook Live this morning. And so I'm super excited because it means that the third time is the charm. And I'm so happy that you can see and hear me perfectly. Yay! This is awesome. So I want to welcome you to Fuck Shit Up Friday. And I'm really happy to have y'all here. And I'm just really ready to get into this week's mayhem and madness that sort of turned me on today. So here's the deal. There's a couple of things that I really want to talk about. One of the things I really want to talk about is progressives with a question mark. One of the other things I want to talk about is the SalemKeizer school district here in Oregon and their ideas about sex. And then the third thing I want to talk about is the Dixie Chicks, because the Dixie Chicks are really what's motivating me today to really not ready to make nice. So the first thing we're going to start with is progressives. Let me just tell you something about the progressives. So what I am hearing a lot of when it comes to the reaction to the election this week is I'm hearing a lot of wows and a lot of excitement and a lot of celebration and a lot of happiness and a lot of those things. And what I'm not hearing a lot of is from the progressives is how we can really continue on this momentum of getting LGBTQ and women of color and men of color elected to office. And the backlash on Twitter has actually been really fascinating because there are some people in the progressive movement who think we need to be targeting white men and anti-choice people in order to make progression as Democrats. And I don't think that that is true. And I don't think that's true for a variety of reasons. But one of them was just enunciated so clearly and distinctly by my friend Carol McDonald, who's a total rock star, who said it is not the responsibility of Black and brown people to be polite when our lives are on the line. And that is so ridiculously true. And I think what is really, really, really becoming very, very abundantly clear here in America is that Black women are the heart and soul and the future of progressive politics, as was so uniquely enunciated by my friend Carol McDonald. And quite frankly, we need to get on that train because that train has left the station. Hi, Diana, how are you? And we need to really start talking about the fact that it is not the responsibility of Black and brown people to be polite when their lives are on the line. It is our responsibility to help them move and be their partners with them and move forward with them and not tell them what to do and not tell them that we think that it's really more important to elect anti-choice candidates in order to get more votes, because that is crap and that is horseshit and that is not a progressive value. And I think the fact that people are totally blown away that people of color and people from the LGBT community won this last week really tells us how we get completely written off as the queer community, as women, and as people of color. And I think it is really, really critical at this time to fuck shit up around that issue and really start having a conversation, especially for those of us who are involved in politics and who are white, to be having these conversations about how we can't expect other people to be quote unquote polite when their lives are on the line, and it's not okay. And the way we fight for progressive values is we continue to get more pro-choice candidates elected, and we continue to get more queer people elected and people of color elected. And one of my most favorite things that happened this week is that in Virginia, a woman, a transgender woman, won the seat against the man who wrote the bathroom bill that told her where she could and could not pee. And what really makes me excited about that is she's going to be working in the Capitol. And my hope is that She makes all the bathrooms in the Capitol gender neutral, because that would be really, really magical there in Virginia. So that's sort of my tangent about progressives and this notion that we need to be moving more down the middle. But because what really is going to happen is if we help people tap into their passion to engage politically on whatever level they feel comfortable, whether they decide to run for office or help somebody else run for office, that is how we are going to moderate politics. It's not about being on the extreme left or the extreme right. It's about really helping people tap into what lights them on fire so they can make a difference in their communities and help people run and get elected for office that are actually keyed into what it is that we want to do as progressives. All right. Here is my next rant, because I actually am afraid that this is the beginning of a wave of things to come when it comes to sex in America. And it is this: the SalemKeizer School District. Okay. So now we're moving on to that. One of my amazing, incredible students brought me this article that was in the Statesman Journal, which is our local newspaper here in Oregon, that says SalemKeizer staff's told to report student sexual activity, including own kids. Now, let's just talk a little bit about what this actually looks like, okay? So what they are saying is that if they learn that teenagers who are sexually active are having sex, that they have to turn them into law enforcement. I had sex when I was 16. I had friends who had sex when they were 16. I had friends who had sex with their friends who were 16. So we're talking about consensual sex among teenagers, which the argument in the SalemKeizer School District is there's no such thing because minors under the age of 18 can't consent. There are so many things about this that really bother me. One is that school districts are even thinking that this is a good idea to help young people, because what it will do is it will alienate young people from talking about their sexual activity, which leaves them at risk for sexually transmitted diseases, HIV, unintended pregnancy, domestic violence, sexual assault. I could go on and on and on. The list is ridiculous. The bottom line is that when two people are engaging in consensual sex, hi Lily, how are you? Happy Veterans Day. Well, it's not Veterans Day yet, but happy day before Veterans Day. When young people engage in sexual activity, they need to be able to talk about it with other people so that they have healthy sexual activity. Hi, love you too. So the SalemKeizer School District saying that anytime a young person, anytime a teacher, a staff person, a counselor finds out that a teenager is engaging in sexual activity, they have to report it to law enforcement, is absolutely fundamentally ridiculous. It means that students will have nobody to go to if they need to talk about what they are doing with their partners. It means that it completely bastardized what it means to be a mandatory reporter. I'm a social worker. I'm a mandatory reporter. I don't report it when teenagers are having consensual sex. I report it when teenagers are being abused. I report it when people are being violated. I report it when there is harassment and assault. And in the land of America, where now all of a sudden the floodgates have opened and women are reporting their assault and harassment at record numbers, we should not be, hi Lisa, we should not be engaging in behavior where, thank you Diana for that comment, we are supposed to be there for kids as educators, not turning them into law enforcement for having sex. It is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. And the district's examples of what students and teachers and staff should be looking for is when a 15-year-old student comes to your office and says she's having sex with her boyfriend and would like information about birth control. Gasp. A young person taking control over her health so she doesn't have an unintended pregnancy and has to face the choice of whether or not she's going to get an abortion? So you have to turn her into the police when she does that in Oregon? No. A 17-year-old son tells you that his 16-year-old girlfriend is pregnant. You have to turn them in to law enforcement. What is this? This is madness, SalemKeizer School District. Madness. And oh, by the way, I know everybody in the universe thinks that Oregon is the land of liberal politics. It's not. Muppet Newsflash, people. Oregon has Portland, Oregon has an area in Oregon that is liberal. It turns out they have the control of a lot of the political systems, just like California does on the coast. The coast of California is liberal. Portland is liberal in Oregon. There are many places outside of Portland that are not liberal in the least. And one of them is the SalemKeizer School District. And this is super problematic. A 14-year-old boy confides in you he was kicked out of the house after his parents discovered that he was engaging in sexual activity with his gay partner. So now you've got a homeless kid who's 14, and oh, by the way, the teacher he's confided in because he feels safe has to be turned into law enforcement for telling you that he was having sex with his 14-year-old boyfriend, even though he was also 14. This is not okay. This is not okay for the school district to be doing. It is the exact opposite of what needs to be happening. And I think the real issue here that the SalemKeizer School District should be looking at is really whether or not we are teaching young people the difference between consensual sex and non-consensual sex. Whether or not we are talking about what is harassment, what is assault, what are the things you need to do to keep yourself safe that you don't have an unattended pregnancy or get an STD or HIV. That is what this Keizer School District should be talking about. This nonsense of turning kids in for having sex is one of the most horrifying things I've ever heard. And what worries me is that if this is successful, what happens if other conservative school districts get on board with this throughout the country because they think this is a way to deal with sexual activity with their young people? It's crap and it's bullshit and it has to stop. And because I'm all about fucking shit up, I am emailing my representative and my senator to tell them that I am adamantly opposed to this and they have to do something about it. And it is my hope that other people in Oregon will also get in touch with their representatives and their senators and tell them that they absolutely do not agree with turning children in for having consensual sex before the age of 18, because it's absolute crap. Okay, so rant over. Okay. The third thing we're talking about today is the Dixie Chicks, because one of my most favorite songs in the whole entire universe is Not Ready to Make Nice, which is what they came out with after they criticized President Bush, then President Bush, and for the war in Iraq, and they were threatened physically with death. And they wrote this great song that I posted on my blog over at Bird Girl Industries, and it's Not Ready to Make Nice. And they talk about how they're not ready to back down and they're mad as hell and they don't have time to go round and round and round. And I am mad and I am angry. And I posted about that on Monday. I'm really mad at what is going on in our nation, in our country. But what I really think is critical here is to remember is this: don't back down. As the lobbyist for Planned Parenthood of Utah, thanks, Lisa. Yeah. Yeah. Teach kids, not punish kids. Very good point. So when I was the lobbyist for Planned Parenthood of Utah, which everybody thinks must have been the most horrible job on the planet, but was really one of the greatest jobs on the planet, I had the beautiful, beautiful opportunity to write and pass multiple pieces of legislation that helped people improve their lives. And it was awesome. And it was amazing. But every day that I had to go to the Capitol, I would put in the Dixie Chicks, Not Ready to Make Nice. And it was like my pump it up song. And it was the song that I listened to the whole entire time I was driving up to the Capitol. And it was the song I listened to when I left the Capitol. And it was like the song that kept me going through all of the madness and mayhem that I had to deal with at the Utah State Capitol. And my message to y'all is this: you do not have to be quiet when people tell you to be quiet. You do not have to back down when people tell you you need to step back. You do not have to stop engaging in the things that make you feel excited and lit up and passionate when people tell you you need to simmer down and calm down and chill out. Because we are at a breaking point as a nation. We have got to address the rampant sexism, racism, and homophobia and transphobia that is becoming pervasive throughout our government. Our government is doing exactly what they said they were going to do. They are piece by piece breaking us down day by day by introducing one piece of legislation after another that is meant to completely silence us. And what we need to be doing instead of becoming silent is to tap into our anger, figure out what lights us on fire, and doing something in our community every single day, month, week, year, whatever it is that you can actually figure out how to do, and do it. Do not be silenced when people tell you to be quiet. Reach out to the people that you know have your back so that you feel supported and loved in what it is you want to do. Hi, Marianne, how are you? Be the voice of change. Because if you can be like the Dixie Chicks and put on your Full Metal Jacket and go and perform despite the death threats and the bullshit, then you will make a difference in your communities. And it is so, so, so critically important at this point that it doesn't matter what it is you love. It doesn't matter what it is that lights you on fire. It doesn't matter what it is that you want to do in your life. If you tap into what makes you feel passionate, you can be just like the transgender woman that won the seat from the guy who wrote the bathroom bill. And you can just be just like the all of the people that won in their elections this last election cycle that didn't think they could do it or didn't know they could do it, but they hoped that they could do it. And they believed in their ability to do it. And I think it's really, really important to continue to just tap into that one thing that makes you excited so that you can make a change in your communities. And last but not least, do not forget, are y'all familiar with Patreon? Patreon is amazing. It is a website where artists and creatives and people like me who are trying to stir it up can build income so that every month we can get paid to do what we do. And if you become a Patreon supporter of mine at $10 before November 20th, I will highlight your project, your business, your candidate, your book, your blog, your everything to my followers, which is about 5,000 followers now. And the website is patreon.com/birdgirl1001. You can give as little as $2. You can give as much as $50. You can give as much as $100. It doesn't matter. But if you give $10 before November 20th, I will highlight your project, business, candidate, whoever it is, whatever it is, patreon.com/birdgirl1001. Also, if you haven't done it yet, you should totally follow me at birdgirl1001 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And go to my website, birdgirlindustries.com with a flower. And you can become a part of the Bird Girl Industries Mayhem and Madness Fuck Shit Up Friday. Don't forget to listen to the Dixie Chicks. It's on my blog. Go out and have some fun today. Stir it up. Bye.